The world held its breath as Artemis II finally came to an end. After completing a historic journey around the moon, the Orion spacecraft splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean near San Diego. All 4 astronauts returned in good health, but the real question is, was this mission truly a success, or are there hidden challenges no one is talking about? This mission marked humanity's return to deep space after more than 50 years since the Apollo program. Covering an incredible distance of over 694,000 miles in just over 9 days, Artemis II proved that we can once again send humans beyond Earth's orbit. NASA officials even declared it a step toward a permanent human presence on the moon. But does completing the journey automatically mean success? Because behind the headlines of a safe landing, there are bigger questions about risks, costs, and the future of space exploration. Is Artemis II really the beginning of a new era, or just another expensive experiment? In this video, we'll break down everything to decide. Moving forward, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe our channel and turn on the bell icon so you never miss our next video on space, universes, and beyond. To truly decide whether Artemis II mission is a success or failure, we first need to compare it with the legendary Apollo program. Back in 1969, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stepped onto the moon, it was about winning the Cold War. The United States wanted to prove its dominance over the Soviet Union, and once that goal was achieved, the urgency faded. Public interest dropped, TV viewership declined, and within a few years, future Apollo missions were cancelled. And the dream of humans living and working in space was suddenly abandoned. This happened because the political motivation behind it had ended. Now let's talk about Artemis II. Everything feels different this time. This is not just a race. It is a long-term plan. Artemis II was never meant to land on the moon. It wasn't designed to plant flags or build bases. Its purpose was something deeper, to test, to prove, and to prepare. Every second of this mission was a question being asked about technology, about human endurance, about the reliability of systems that will one day carry astronauts not just around the moon, but onto its surface, and eventually even to Mars. Artemis II sent 4 astronauts, Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, on a 9-day trip. They travelled more than 694,000 miles around the moon and came back safely. They flew inside the Orion spacecraft, which is more advanced than before. Unlike the Apollo program, this mission is not just about going to the moon and leaving. The goal is to stay there in the future. The Artemis II was not just another space flight, it was a historic comeback for human space exploration. Launched on April 1st, 2026, this 9-day mission became the first time since 1972 that humans travelled beyond low Earth orbit, something not seen since the era of the Apollo program. Carrying 4 astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft, named Integrity, Artemis II followed a carefully planned lunar flyby trajectory, similar in purpose to Apollo 8, but even more advanced in execution. This mission was designed as a critical test flight, laying the foundation for future missions that aim not just to visit the moon, but to stay there. Every system, from navigation to life support, was pushed to its limits to ensure that humanity is truly ready for long-term deep space exploration. What makes Artemis II even more remarkable is the diversity and historic achievements of its crew. Astronaut Victor Glover became the first person of color to travel this far into space. Christina Koch became the first woman to journey beyond low Earth orbit toward the moon. And Jeremy Hansen represented Canada as the first non-American astronaut on such a mission. Alongside them, Commander Reid Wiseman led the mission as the oldest human to reach such distances from Earth. During their journey, the crew broke records by traveling over 252,000 miles away from Earth, surpassing even the record set by Apollo 13. These milestones show that Artemis II is not just about technology. It's about expanding human presence in space in a more inclusive and global way, signaling a new era of international collaboration. However, behind this incredible mission lies years of challenges, delays, and engineering risks that raise serious questions about its success. From multiple launch delays caused by technical issues to concerns about Orion's heat shield after Artemis I, NASA had to make critical decisions to move forward. Instead of redesigning the heat shield, engineers modified the spacecraft's re-entry path to reduce risk, an approach that sparked debate even among experts. The mission also faced hardware issues like leaks, valve problems, and weather delays, pushing the launch timeline further than expected. While Artemis II ultimately completed its journey, these challenges reveal that the road to the moon is far from perfect. So, the answer isn't as simple as a yes or no, because missions like Artemis II are not judged only by their destination, but by what they change for the future of humanity. On the surface, Artemis II looks like a clear success. 4 astronauts launched from Earth, traveled hundreds of thousands of miles into deep space, orbited the moon, and returned safely home. For the first time in more than half a century since the Apollo program, human beings crossed the invisible boundary of low Earth orbit and ventured back into the unknown. That alone is historic. That alone is powerful. And that alone proves that humanity has not forgotten how to reach beyond its limits. But success in space is never just about survival. It's about progress. The Orion spacecraft performed its job. The crew remained safe. The navigation systems guided them through deep space with precision. Communication with Earth remained stable across vast distances. The re-entry, one of the most dangerous phases of any space mission, was completed without catastrophic failure. These are not small achievements. They are the foundation of everything that comes next. But here's where things get complicated. Because behind every successful mission headline, there are layers of reality that most people never see. Artemis II faced delays, not just small ones, but delays that stretched timelines, tested budgets, and raised doubts. Thus, technical issues with life support systems, concerns about the heat shield after Artemis I, leaks, valve problems, weather interruptions. These were not minor inconveniences. These were reminders that space exploration is still one of the most complex and unforgiving challenges humanity has ever taken on. Even the decision to move forward with the existing heat shield design, despite observed damage in previous missions, sparked debate among experts. NASA adjusted the re-entry trajectory instead of redesigning the system entirely. It was a calculated risk, a decision based on data, testing, and confidence, but still a risk. And that leads us to an uncomfortable truth. Success in space is often built on the edge of uncertainty. Artemis II is not the final goal. It's a stepping stone. When we compare it to the Apollo era, we see a critical difference. Apollo was driven by urgency, by competition, by the pressure of the Cold War. Once the goal was achieved, once humans landed on the moon, the mission ended. The motivation faded. The program stopped. But Artemis is trying to do something much bigger. It's not about being first anymore. It's about staying. NASA's vision is not just to visit the moon, but to build a sustainable presence, to create a future where humans live and work beyond Earth. That's a completely different challenge. It requires long-term planning, international cooperation, advanced technology, and most importantly, consistency. And that's where Artemis II will truly be judged, not by what it achieved alone, but by what it enables next. If Artemis III successfully lands humans on the moon, if future missions build habitats, establish supply chains, and create a permanent human presence, then Artemis II will be remembered as a crucial success. The mission that proved we were ready to begin again. But if delays continue, if technical issues grow, if funding or interest fades, then Artemis II could become something else entirely. Artemis II is a test to see if we are ready. It shows what we can do, but it also tells us that going further will be hard, and we still have a lot to learn before we go even farther. Because going to the moon is no longer the ultimate goal. Staying there is, building there is, living there is, and eventually leaving it behind to reach Mars. But Artemis II is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a much bigger one. A journey that will define the future of human civilization. Not just on Earth, but beyond it. So next time you hear someone ask, was Artemis II a success or failure? Remember this, it was a promise that humanity is ready to try again. But whether we succeed this time depends on what we do next. Until then, keep looking up, keep wondering, and keep exploring, because the universe is far bigger than we imagine. This is Planets in Perspective, and I'll see you in the next one.